MCC has given me this foundation and this platform to express myself and make sure that I'm heard.
It's helped me gain my freedom to speak my truth. Not only has it made me a better storyteller, but as an alumni, MCC continues to connect with me and create other opportunities.
This is my spot. MCC has assured me that this is my forever home because of the way they support me and they give me what I need. They give you the supplies and you do what you do. They give me this network full of people. They give me this connection.
We all keep in touch and go out sometimes. So it's just the fact that we're so much more than a cast. We are part of a family and we are connected together.
I know that every time I walk into a room, whether that's for a rehearsal for Fresh Play or a weekly playwriting lab meeting or anything, if it's in person, virtual, whatever, I know that I'm walking into a culture of kindness and a culture of empathy where I will not only be seen and heard and respected as an artist, but also as a person.
Having this safe space is important to kids and to teenagers like me and to people like me.
I was very happy not only to hear other people's stories but also to share mine, and everyone just made each other feel comfortable with sharing, and we really cheered each other on.
The support system at MCC is incredible, especially over the past year, where it has been a safe space via Zoom where I'm able to share, to listen, to empathize with others. It has been a tough journey, but I am incredibly grateful to have MCC along the way.
It's indescribable of how much I learned and how much I grown from my time there. And I just want to say thank you to everyone.
Hi, everyone. I'm Will Cantler, co-artistic director of the MCC Theater. And I've been asked to talk a little bit about how MCC got started doing its education program. So I think I'll go back to the very beginnings of the company. The full name of MCC Theater is actually the Manhattan Class Company. And that was highly intentional because when MCC was formed, it was a group of people who'd just gotten out of college, and we were all trying to find our voices. And part of the way that we were doing that was by putting classes together, hiring people to come in and teach us to learn and grow. And as the company developed, it was a pretty easy leap for us to have teaching artists that started to go into New York City schools. And it became very apparent to us that we were finding people there who could really benefit from having a place to come and engage through the art of theater. So MCC's youth company got started out of that. And I'm just going to quote what we say about MCC's youth company: a free after-school workshop and lab program that provides a rigorous and nurturing creative oasis for students to explore and develop their own bold voices. So boy, howdy, it ties just right back into where we started. There have been some amazing artists who have come out of the youth company over the years: Rendara Santiago, Alexander Lambie, David Zeng, Xavier Galva, Dominique Fishback, Amira Leone, Dominique Thorne, Julissa Contreras, and Verilyn Williams, to name just a few. But I think one of the things that's really important to me is that the youth company has never been a pre-professional program. It's always been about finding the students who need this thing in their lives right now. People with a curiosity, a desire for an enhanced sense of community in their lives, and getting accepted into the company is based as much on effort and not so much on having any previous theater experience, nor do we expect that people are necessarily going to go on in theater after they graduate, which is part of the reason we have things like our What Now program that in addition to enhancing a lot of the questions that get explored in the youth company classes, also helps people look into how to apply to colleges and things like that. It's always been important to us that people in the youth company had a belief in their right to own their own space and be heard, were open-minded and really committed. And it's made it a very special place. And you see that through our annual Uncensored program, which is put together by all the acting students, and our Fresh Play program, which is about developing new playwrights. So I have to say that the existence of our education programs, and especially our youth company programs, is maybe the best bargain I have in my life, because whatever resources and time we put into our education and youth company programs comes back to us in a kind of radical honesty that, as a New Yorker and as an artist and as a human, is a true gift to me and to our community. So that's that. And now I'm going to introduce Jody Schneider, who is on our board of directors and is chair of the Committee on Public Engagement and Education. Hi, Jody.
Hi, Will. Thank you very much for the introduction. Welcome to all who have joined to learn more about MCC's education program. I'm Jody, board member and chair of the Education Committee. We established this committee about a year ago to advocate for and support the extraordinary work being done in the areas of education and public engagement. I've worked as an educator for most of my life, and the depth and breadth of this education program is what really drew me to join the board. We have a vibrant and engaged committee of board members who become real champions of the work that's being done with our students. We're all passionate about the mission and importance of this special part of MCC. It's been particularly gratifying to witness the tremendous impact our programming has had on our New York City students this year as they've been learning remotely. Programming didn't skip a beat, and our students were able to express themselves creatively and artistically during one of the most challenging times in their lives. They wrote and rehearsed and performed with our amazing teaching artists. It's been an honor to serve on this committee and to support this tremendously important part of MCC's mission. I now have the honor of introducing our most phenomenal and wonderful Director of Education and Public Engagement, Tricia Patrick, and the incredible Denise D. Hughes, Manager of Education Programs.
Thanks, Jody.
Thank you.
Thank you for kicking off the event, Will, and thank you so much, Jody, for the introduction. We would like to extend our gratitude to the entire Education Committee for your commitment to furthering the Education Department's service to New York City youth. We could not be happier to be here this evening and to be in conversation with teaching artists and students, both current and past, about education programs empowering youth to speak their truth. It is our first chance to take a behind-the-scenes look at the work we do and who we serve. We wish we were hosting you at our theater home in Hell's Kitchen, but we are thankful to connect with you virtually during these times. MCC would like to center our event in practices rooted in fostering community. We acknowledge how the past and the present converge right now. MCC's theater home sits on the unceded land of the Lenape people. We acknowledge that this stolen land was worked on by enslaved Africans. May this living land acknowledgement to the Lenape, their elders past and present, and their future generations, as well as the experiences of enslaved Africans and their descendants, serve as a starting ground for change.
Thank you for that, Trisha. Over the past 20 years, thousands of students have become members of MCC's Youth Company through its Performance Lab, Playwriting Lab, and our Brooklyn Youth Company programs. Each of those programs offers free, quality after-school arts education grounded in supporting students to further develop their unique voices and then amplifying them, as we mentioned. We amplify their words through culminating events such as our current Fresh Play online festival.
We're constantly innovating, right? Fresh Play this year is our very first online festival. And each year for Fresh Play, we expand our community of teaching artists by welcoming in new artistic collaborators. Playwriting Lab teaching artists and Fresh Play program directors Lucy Thurber and Rendara Santiago pair professional directors with each of our Playwriting Lab playwrights. Lucy Thurber herself was supposed to join us this evening, but had a last-minute conflict arise. However, we are so lucky to have one of our Fresh Play directors here with us this evening. Please welcome a longtime friend of the MCC Youth Company, and it's not their first time at the rodeo. Please welcome Victor Cervantes Jr., who directed It's Okay and FMK. Joining Victor on the virtual stage are playwrights Anya Jimenez, writer of It's Okay and FMK. It's a bit of a reunion, y'all. And Destiny Rivera, who wrote The Butterfly Effect, which was also directed by Julissa Contreras, who is also, as Will said, alumni of the program. Welcome to you all. I am so happy to be here with you this evening. Yes, waves, waves, waves. All right, so I'm going to kick off this first question to Anya and Destiny. And Anya, let's start with you first. Anya, you joined a class at a theater company that was new to you during a pandemic. Okay, talk about bold and brave. Can you both tell us, and we'll start with you, Anya, a little bit about what drew you to the Playwriting Lab and how it connects with you as both a young person and an artist?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I hadn't taken a playwriting class since 6th grade, and that was the class that got me into playwriting. So I was like, it's been a minute. This sounds great. I had heard really great things about the program from people who had done the performance lab, but I didn't actually personally know anyone who had done the playwriting lab. And honestly, a lot of it was just kind of like, well, I'm inside and have no inspiration. I need something to do. And if I get a community out of it, great. But it really exceeded my expectations of what I thought it was going to be. Yeah, so that's sort of what drew me to the program. And I really didn't know what I was getting into, but like now that I do, I'm telling everybody about it. So
thank you for that. How about you, Destiny? How does it connect with you as a young person and an artist, especially now during these times?
Well, this isn't my first year at MCC because I have been in the youth company with MCC. So I've always wanted to be a part of playwriting or like be a part of like the Fresh Play events, but I've never gotten the chance to. So this year, Denise, she actually asked me if I wanted to try playwriting. So I tried it, and this was like my first ever playwriting class and like a year and all of the sessions. So I found it really heartwarming that like the space was so accepting and everybody really was just there because they truly wanted to be there. It didn't feel like a chore and it didn't feel like a job like I had to do it. We all genuinely wanted to be there, and it helped so much, and especially to have a creative outlet during COVID and a pandemic, it helped a lot.
Thank you both. So the program runs from October through May. Please tell us, how were you challenged in the class, and how do you think you grew over the course of the year? Let's start with you, Destiny, first this time.
So I would say that it was definitely a challenge because like the amount of times where I wish I was in a space with like everyone in my playwriting class, so that when we had to read the pages, like we can reorganize the pages, like actually with physical paper, but it was just online this time and it was with a document. So it was tricky in that aspect, as in like holding tangible things. But I feel like we all did a really good job in connection and being supportive of one another. And like we were able to take up space there. I would say that was one of the main things that I've learned during playwriting was to take up space, and that it is okay to take up space.
Yes, love that. Anya, do you have anything to add to that?
I mean, amen to all of that. But also I just feel like having a community of writers as well, because yes, it's great to have, you know, a class and that kind of like, you know, education of, okay, this is a technical aspect of writing, here's how you can do it, here's a presentation, go, great, done. But this is the first program that I've been in that's a writing program that's really, really collaborative. And even though we were all working on our own things, it's like every single week you come in with new pages and it's just, okay, we're all here to support each other. We're all the actors as well as the writers. We're doing cold readings and all of these different things. So I really love the participation of that. It's just so helpful to hear your own work out loud. And if you don't have a space or, you know, people to go to and say, hey, can you read this for me? Like, this program is really, really crucial for that, because it is about, you know, hearing it out loud and coming up with all these ideas on the fly. And also just with that community, yes, it's emotionally very supportive and loving and all of that, which is beautiful, but also artistically, it really pushed me a lot, even just to hear other people's writing and to see, oh my God, like the way that you did this was so creative and so cool. Like, I want to try something that's more out of my comfort zone now. I want to do that. And, you know, obviously not copying or anything, but just being able to say, I really love and respect what you're doing as an artist. You inspire me. To have that motivation is amazing.
Thank you both. This next question is for Victor. Victor, you are a playwright and a director in your own right, and this is not your first year collaborating with MCC on Fresh Play. Can you tell us a little bit about your early experience with the program and how that has possibly shifted for this year's Fresh Play?
Yeah, definitely. So I have been with MCC Theater Company's educational programming since 2014, actually. So when, you know, you first introduced me, I said, oh, I have gone way back, and I just forgot it's part of my community. It's part of my further reach. And those early experiences, actually, per Will Cantler's introduction of the inception of MCC Theater Company being a place where young artists could really hone and develop their own voices, it actually became my place where I developed my voice as an artist, because I was a young director thrown in with the responsibility of shaping this young play and a young playwright, even though I myself had just been a graduate of NYU. And suddenly I was also in a room with professional actors, two of whom had been on Broadway. Everyone in that room was a professional working artist, including our young playwright. So what was really fascinating is that, we were all at different stages, and ultimately we were there to tell a story. And so that definitely connective thread is so alive, even in this hybrid virtual format of, regardless of your experience, and also regardless of your connective thread as a storyteller in terms of profession in this industry, we're telling stories. So what skills, what love, what experiences can we bring to the table in a physical form or to the table in a virtual form? As Destiny said to the document online, y'all, our Google Workspace is a new best friend of mine. That has definitely seen a transformation. And with that being said, there is this flexibility and pliability that we saw with Anya's play of, it started with 12 pages, and in a traditional Fresh Play format, being in person is sometimes actually even more pressure, because there are actors in the space who are waiting for pages, right? We can't move forward until our playwright gives us more that is inside of their heads and inside of their hearts. And in this virtual setting, which was really beautiful, was, okay, Anya and I can have conversations. Everyone else, their time can be respected in a more valuable way. So I will say that was a really beautiful added lesson that I learned through this experience.
I want to touch on something that both of you actually mentioned in your wonderful comments about, or actually all three of you did, in terms of how this is taking place on a virtual realm. There's aspects of it that you of course missed, but there are aspects of it that were also heightened. Can you tell me a little bit, especially in your rehearsal rooms, how you establish that community and that ensemble feeling when these are basically strangers mostly who are popping up? We do have, of course, our members of our current youth company, our alumni community, and a lot of returners in the space, but and new combinations for each of these fresh plays. How did you all work through that together? Destiny, why don't you start with the butterfly effect? How was ensemble and community created?
So for the butterfly effect, I would say the fact that so within like the own story, the setting is Bronx, New York. And what I came to realize was that all of my actors and creative team lived, they're from the Bronx. So we all really bonded with that. And like the slang that we use when we talk to each other, it was like magic. We really just fit like a puzzle within each other. So like whenever Julissa could give me notes for anything, it was like we understood, and like the actors as well. Like whenever like we would say, "Oh, this is how this character is feeling. This isn't the intention for this scene." They were like, "Okay, hold on, this makes sense." Like we can all sort of like find a common ground and relate to like the characters and to what's being written. Like even the stage directions, I didn't even realize that, but yeah, it was fun.
All right, Victor, Anya.
All right, cool. Yeah, I mean, one of the things with It's Okay, it's a two-person cast, so I feel like it just kind of had that built-in intimacy anyway. It's something that was a little bit more like emotional and personal, so I think that just having the connection to each other came a bit more naturally just because it was a shorter piece and a small cast. But with FMK, one of the things that Victor did, which I absolutely loved, was on the first rehearsal that we had, we were doing intros and then, a little question moment, but I thought it was going to be like, what's your favorite ice cream flavor or something like that. And instead they were like, what does femininity mean to you? And I was like, oh, we're going right into it. Okay. And it was something that was really, really beautiful to see everybody's responses to, because so much of the play dealt with, that idea of womanhood and what it means to be femme in this society and all these different things. And so it was really just interesting to start right off the bat with that and having this cast all share their experiences with it. And that definitely informed how we all came to the space together. And I feel like that was a really great way to sort of bond through the material and through our own personal identities and experiences, and just a really cool way to start it off. Yeah.
Wonderful. I think we lost Victor there, but I have a question for you both. This is something that Victor touched on a little bit earlier on in terms of being challenged in the space and the ensemble coming together and pushing each other. How in the room do you think that you were necessary? Oh no, you spoke to it, Anya. Talked about the comfort zone. In what ways during this fresh play process were you pushed, let's say, out of your comfort zone, but also still, supported along the way to do that? We'll start with you, Anya, and then we'll end with you, Destiny.
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of challenges, but none of them like, oh man, this is hard and I hate it. Like all of it was challenges. All of them were challenges that I was excited to take on, which is always, just lovely. And I think it's such a great part of theater and collaboration. But I think probably the biggest challenge was working on FMK because, like Victor said, I came into the room with a 12-page play and I was like, okay, I'm done. And then like our first conversation, they were like, write these 3 scenes, you have these characters, right? And all of them are amazing ideas. So I'm like writing down in my notes app and I'm like, oh, there's so much possibility. I don't know where I'm going with this. But to be writing that quickly, because it was, a week, and I really wrote like the like 23 pages over the span of like 3 days, I think. And I felt bad for the actors because I was like, thank you guys for just being so down to take all of these new pages. I appreciate you. But it was nice too, because a lot of the ideas actually came from just sort of conversations and people's reactions to the script in the room itself, where we would read new pages and it would be a question that somebody asks about, oh, well, how do these two characters know each other? Actually, I didn't have the answer. And so then I'd be able to say, let me explore that and run with that and say, okay, this is what this is missing. And that actually is an opportunity for me to explore this idea and just being able to like direct message Victor. That's the other thing that was great about Zoom, just having that ease of it, you know, miss the in-person stuff, but those direct messages were great. Loved that. Just to be able to be like, does this work? What do you think of this? And having that collaboration, it was definitely a challenge, but it was really exciting, and I still feel like there's more to explore with it even. So that's the other thing that is really great about Fresh Play, is like, it's not like this is like, well, you've done it and that's it. And the same with the playwriting program itself. It's like you're always working, you're always growing, you're always continuing, and you always have that love and support behind you. You never feel like you have to like prove yourself with your work, and that's why it's so easy and fun to work on it. So yeah.
Awesome. Destiny, you are up.
Yes to everything that Anya was saying, because I agree. But yeah, I would say like the challenges would be like just a little like the questions that you wouldn't think would bring up a lot brought up a lot. It's just like, oh, how did they meet? Oh, okay, well, I didn't really think about that. So now I have like all of these like ideas that I can work from, and like not necessarily all of them won't be like come into a scene or anything, but we have the ideas to work with them so that I can move the story along, and so that I can give like my actors more pages. And I would say another it wasn't a challenge, but it was for sure tricky, was that I have about 5 to 6 songs in this play. So, and they all came out of nowhere. It was just like one day, Julissa and I were talking, we had like our one-on-one with each other. And she was just asking me, oh, like, what would you like to do with the music aspect? Do you have any more songs? Like, how can you convey these scenes and show these feelings from the characters? Because the dialogue, you might not need it if it's said in a song. And I was just like, hold on. The light bulb went off in my head, and I just continued to write. And then for one of the updated versions, all of the songs were there, and the actors were just like, wow. So that was helpful. And also yeah.
That's perfect. That's perfect. I think we got Victor back, but just in time to wrap up, because we do have to move on. But let me bring him back for at least for a thank you so much. I want to thank you both so much for not only the amazing creativity that you've shared with all of us through this process, but I think it is underestimated what it takes that in the light of all of this to still show up every single week, to show up prepared and enthusiastic, and to actually participate in the community and give as much as you're receiving. So super commend you both. Anya, thank you so much for joining. We will see you again soon. Destiny, stay right where you are, because we're going to talk about the Ambassadors Program with my colleague, Dee. Oh, Victor, you came back. Thank you so much. We are wrapping that section, but we are so thankful that you were able to join us from where you are working. Victor is a
Thank you. Yeah, sorry, my apologies. I'm in Scottsdale right now producing a virtual theater festival, actually. And the heat proved to be too much, actually, for much of the production. So apologies on that.
No problem at all. We were so happy to have you here for the time that we did.
Of course. Thank you. Have a great day.
See you again soon. I'd like to welcome back my colleague Dee, and welcome also to the space one of our other ambassadors, Stephanie Rodriguez. Take it away, Dee.
Thanks, Trisha. Hi, Destiny. Hey, good to see you. Yes, so Destiny and Stephanie, who is going to be coming to our virtual stage, so Destiny is not only in our playwriting program, but she is also a member of our ambassadors program, and she has been for 2 years, right, Destiny? 2 years? Yeah, awesome. Our ambassador program, or the AMBIES as we like to call it, is a personal development and leadership program that all MCC Youth Company students are eligible to be a part of after being with us for 1 year, and can stay with us until they're 22. So we've had a lot of people that stay with us that long, and we love them. We love to see them grow, just like Stephanie has, who came from Performance Lab, right? You were in Performance Lab, right, Steph? Yeah, awesome, cool.
In 2018, yeah.
There you go, there you go. I remember. So we have it's a weekly after school class that the students join us for. And I can talk about the program all day, but the best people to hear it from are the ambassadors themselves. So is there anything you want to share about the impact of the AMBIES programs? And first, let's ask, what drew you both to ambassadors? What brought you into AMBIES?
I would say what brought me into AMBIES is that during like being in the youth company and working on Uncensored, I would always see like other people from like the youth company, but not necessarily in the performance lab. I would see them help out, and I would see them like do things around the theater space and MCC, and they would help us with Uncensored. And I was just like, this is interesting. Like, can I be a part of it? So then the next year, my second year, I was able to sign up. And now I've learned so much about theater, and not just acting and singing or performing in that much of the light, but I got to learn more than that.
What about you, Stephanie? What drew you to ambassadors?
Thank you. So for me, AMBIES is kind of just like an experiment. I wanted to break out of like my comfort zone, and I really wanted to do something that had to do with theater and the arts after school, since like the school I went to really didn't offer any of those like after school programs. And it was like the best thing I've ever done, because MCC is truly like an extension of your family. And I've learned so much, and I continue to learn so much with you guys, and I'm forever grateful. So thank you.
We are always grateful for y'all. So you were both with us as ambassadors before the pandemic, and also in that switch. So how did it compare being in person versus virtual? And like, what did you notice in the shift for y'all? You want to start?
Yeah, so it was a very big shift. It was obviously a very, unexpected change for all of us. And we dealt with it in different ways, but I felt like we all came together, and that's what made MCC even, I feel like, more powerful and more meaningful. Like, we stick through these pandemics, and we kept like making conversations, and we just kept like being there for each other, because obviously we come from very, different backgrounds, and we have different cultures in MCC. So we were just all there for each other. And me personally, it affected me like, very strongly. I have an aunt who had COVID and beat it, and then she got sick with something else after. So it was very tough for me, and just my family life and my work life, it was very hard to manage like both. Being that, I have family members who live all across New York. So yeah, it's tough, but I feel like MCC really managed to like just come together and be my support system as well. Thank you.
Thanks.
Sorry.
Destiny, do you want to go? Thanks, Stephanie. And thank you for being so transparent. Yeah.
So with the switch was big, and it was, I would say, really different, because of course, like we come together to like the MCC theater space, and we're always there in person, and we get to see each other literally in person every week, once a week. So going from that to then going into a virtual setting and like having you guys on like a tiny screen on a phone, it was just like, wow, I can't be together with like my people and like share each other's energy in a room. But I would say that we, as a whole group and as a whole community, we were able to get through that, and we were able to keep the conversation and to keep learning, because all of the links that Denise and Trisha would send nonstop about, and having the guests come on to talk for like from different departments to talk to us and like educate us about theater and other things. And we even had like a couple of lawyers come on. I remember the hookup was nice, and everything was still prominent as it was in person, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, Destiny. we as Destiny was talking about, we had a lot of guests, and we always have guests come to our program, usually in person. We'll have MCC staff come and speak to people. We'll go on field trips. But this year we were able to talk to people across the country. Destiny, you can come back. I have one more question for y'all. We were able to bring in a lot more people to talk about their experience in the arts and how, and about this year, and also really navigating a lot of the questions that were coming up in the classroom. So my last question for both of y'all was, what were some of the highlights of this year for y'all with those guests that came in that impacted you? Whoever wants to take it first.
I guess I'll go. So like just the whole year was like a highlight after the pandemic, that we were still able to be a part of MCC and still able to be ambassadors, because with other programs, like for say, it didn't happen so easily transitioning into this, you know, online format. So it was honestly just an honor to still be a part of MCC and still be able to progress with the group as one, or just for myself. And a highlight that I had, like specifically, I can't really think of one at the moment, but I mean, we still carried on and spoke to many guests, like that I can't even name because it was so many. And it was really nice that towards the ending of MCC, we also we just got more resources basically to other programs, to other theater people. And it was just great to be a part of that still. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Steph. Destiny?
So I would say that one of there's two instances. I would say when we had like the mixer between the MCC departments and the MBs was really helpful, and with the fact that even though we're not in person, like we're still able to like learn about those other departments, and they were so willing to come onto the Zoom class and able to talk to us. You guys put us in breakout rooms. They were so open to answer any questions that we had, and it was eye-opening, and like we learned a lot. And I would say the next one would be when I don't remember his name, but I know he was a lawyer and he's a part of the MCC board, if I'm correct now. Yes.
Yeah, you're right, Kareem.
Yes. And it was to see that this person, you would think that like law and being a lawyer would have nothing to do with the theater world at all, but like seeing that and seeing how he is able to still be like a part of theater in a very prominent way, like he's a part of the MCC board, and like also just do like his own career, was very inspirational to see, because you can see that you don't have to be tied down to just like one thing. You know that there are other ways that you can, like through other mediums, you can reach what you want, and you can reach like the other career types and paths that you would like to be a part of, and you don't have to choose just one, and you don't have to be confined to just one.
Yeah. I just wanted to add in, so I think we had a Zoom call with someone in Hawaii. I might be wrong, with Kit Yan.
Yep.
So that was pretty like a highlight for me.
Steve, what was the highlight for you?
I think it was like he had a nice like fish in the back, and we all at the end of the Zoom call, we were all like, nice decorations. So it was nice because we're like also in people's spaces, and you get to really see where some of these creatives like get their inspiration from, and also how they have their home set up. And you know, your home environment really does create like your type of art. Well, I believe so. So it's really nice to also be in that space and that realm, and it feels really personal when we have these Zoom conversations. So that's just really nice.
Yeah, for sure. I think it brought everybody in. It made us be able to meet lots of different people. All right, y'all. If you have anything that you've learned about yourself in like one line, what have you learned about yourself with MBs? And then we're gonna switch on over.
I would say that I am more helpful than I think. That's what I've learned from MBs.
Yes. Stephanie?
I've learned from MBs how to kind of advocate for yourself and create opportunities for yourself.
Yeah, thank you so much, y'all. It's been an honor to watch both of you grow in this program. And always grateful to have y'all in the MCC family. All right, y'all. Thanks so much for joining us. Bye, y'all. So something, oh, go ahead, Trisha. You want to join us? I just want to talk about the MBs for a quick second.
Yeah, I'm just here supporting the transition.
Great. One of the things, well, actually, Stephanie is now going into this. Our alumni are a really huge part of our community. As Will talked about at the top, we have a lot of notable alumni, but also as Destiny spoke to, we want to make sure that no matter what career our alumni are going into, that we're also supporting them and finding space to still curate and nourish that artistic piece of them. With our alumni, we also have lots of alumni programs. We invite them to all of our shows and they get tickets to that. We also make sure that we have an annual reunion of MCC alumni that is all coordinated by a fellowship that is paid that we sponsor for an alumni of our community every year. And we always like to say with anyone that's graduating from our programs that once you are part of MCC, you are part of the MCC family. And as you've heard all of our young people talk about tonight, you keep hearing that word family and community come up. And we're just so grateful to continuously provide that for our folks in our community.
Yes, thank you so much for that, Dee. Our community, as I said before, is ever expanding, but we're also continuing to reconnect and also, as Stephanie said, provide new opportunities for folks either within MCC itself or with some of our arts partners that are connected with MCC in our work. So thank you so much for highlighting that. So in addition to our playwriting lab that we've already talked about and our ambassadors program that we've already talked about, our other after-school programs also continued without interruption. Our performance lab was led by Jennifer Shirley and Kevin Carrillo. And our Brooklyn Youth Company at the High School for Public Service was led by Vicki Tanner. Both labs met weekly, to our folks. Both labs met weekly with students writing, right? Because they devise and create their own work. It's always student-driven work. And they rehearsed shows that spoke to the experiences that they faced that were specific to the hardships that were compounded by this year's tumult. So it was a mixture between like a really serious look at how they were doing, but also expressions of joy and expressions of family and community. They tapped into their creativity and used their artistry as a way to process their world. And their words revealed their resiliency and also their vulnerability. We'd like to show you a short clip of both Uncensored and BKYC Uncensored, both of which continue to be available at their full length on the MCC YouTube page. Enjoy. We'll be right back.
What is a phoenix?
A mythical bird.
An idea.
A thing.
A fiery being.
The strength of a titan.
The healing powers of Apollo.
When it feels its life has come to an end.
It goes beautifully with the blazing flame.
And a new life arises from the ashes.
Phoenixes thrive in the flame.
Just like the phoenix, man can rise from the ashes after devastation and loss.
So much loss, so much pain.
So many wars, burning life into ashes.
With every new blazing flame rises a new civilization.
Where will the world be 500 years into the future?
No one can know.
Will there even be one at all?
In order to be reborn, we must acknowledge our problems, our faults.
We must fix our world.
We must set it right.
We must.
This can't go on any longer.
The world is burning.
The world is burning.
The world is burning once more.
Stop overthinking.
Be one with me.
You only live once.
Stop and calm down.
Play me in a game right now.
Try not to be so indecisive.
Calm down and breathe.
All right. Thank you so much for showing that. That is just a small snippet of our amazing performance lab and Brooklyn Youth Company. So as we get ready for the start of a new school year, we are going to now talk about our in-school partnership programs that we have with New York City high schools across the city. So our teaching artists work across 4 high schools in New York in tandem with partner teachers that utilize theater activities and programming to strengthen the teacher's curriculum. I am pleased to welcome 2 of our amazing MCC teaching artists, Matthew Higgins and Raphael Peacock. So excited to have 2 of you amazing humans in this space with us. Woo! Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to be here, and I'm so happy to see everyone.
Yeah.
Especially you, Raphael.
Yes, it's great to see you, Matthew. Great to see you, Dee.
Good to see y'all. All right.
And you, Dee.
Thanks, man.
And Trisha.
Yes. Okay, you 2. You have both been MCC teaching artists for a long time. In your incredible tenure with us, what have you found makes MCC's approach to like our in-school partnerships unique or impactful to the schools that you've worked with? Yeah. Take it back.
Yeah. Well, I feel that's such a fascinating question. I think it's because of sort of the personal connection that I feel with the teachers and with the school and with the students. And MCC, for some reason, has trusted me to be the person that I am, and to be the artist that I am, and to be the type of teaching artist that I am, to go in there and to really make that connection and figure out, it's really a very personal connection, I feel, between myself and the teacher, and to say, hey, what are your goals? Like, what is it that you want to work on? What should we do? And how can we get there in a really fun and creative way that will be really engaging? And so there's that. And then there's also the other thing that I really appreciate. For example, you, Dee, you brought me to a Theater of the Oppressed workshop, and other workshops as well. So I appreciate my own personal development and professional development as well. So I think that it's like, I feel like I'm growing and learning along the way.
Here, well said. I think it's up to echo what has been said over and over again, is it really is this idea of family. And as Will said earlier, the idea that they had class together. Bernie, Will, Bob, Blake, they took class together, they learned together, they questioned together, they grew together, and then they decided to invite other people to the party. And I came to the party through Matthew again, and family again has really been key to it. And I think that idea of family, that idea of inclusion, that idea that your story is important, and that your individual growth as a student and as a teacher and as a partnership is vital to our own success as humans, is I feel very unique. We both work with other organizations, But I will say that for me, this is the best place for me to grow as a human, as an artist, and it's been an invaluable time to spend, working with MCC for years.
We are so glad both of you have stayed with us. So as you both spoke to, like, you all will meet with the teachers and will meet with the administration to make sure that you are like partnered with the teacher, you learn what their curriculum is going to be, and then you utilize theater to strengthen it. So what were some of the pivots that you had to make this year with your partner teachers since March 2020 that you found that to ensure that you continued to meet your students where they were and honor those stories that you were talking about, Raphael?
I will say with, camera and microphones, while they can be a beautiful tool, can also be a large deterrent for very many reasons. And in terms of the world of access and equity, it's very different and challenging in some places. So we had certain students in my case that were happy to turn on their camera and able to turn on the cameras, and others that they could not turn on their camera. They could not turn on their microphone for various reasons. Some students outside, because that was actually the best place for them to learn. So the adaptability that MCC allows us to have, to be able to, literally go class by class, student by student, to give them the support that they needed, was one of the great pivots that we had. And then, quite frankly, the chat feature became a really good friend, for us, for me, and how we could actually capture what was going on with students, many of whom were very reluctant to speak, some of whom did not speak at all, unless they were using the chat. So the ability to go into our curriculum day by day and actually make minute-to-minute adjustments and know that that was going to be okay with Trisha, okay with Dee, and then taking in the ideas and what was necessary for the students' individual growth was vital to success. And so with one class, and I'll just say this and then pass to Matthew, I had seniors and they were so angry and so very much pain, and they had lost family and they had lost friends, and they were not in the building, and they didn't have a prom, and they weren't going to see each other, and they weren't going to graduate, and all these things that were going on with them. While the book is vitally important, obviously, we needed to step away from it, and they needed to be able to write, they needed to be able to speak, they needed to be able to tell their story, and they needed a safe space in order to be able to do that. And we were able to provide that for them because of the existential flexibility of MCC and the partnerships that we've been able to form. And the relationships, the personal relationships that we have with our teachers who trust us to say, I think we need to make this move. And so we were able to get the students to really tell us how they were feeling. And then we were able to tailor the rest of our time together to give them an experience that was really about process and really about their own emotional, mental health and their own growth, and finding out where they were and what they needed from us and how we could provide that for them, which is the last thing that I will say. Is Trisha and Denise are experts at finding all of the things that students need, whether they need counseling, whatever guidance it is that they need, workshops that they need, whatever it is that we need for our students. All we have to do is send an email and boom, there it is. But it's also there for us because we likewise had professional development on how we could deal with and meet students where they were with their own emotional health. That was vital for my own personal growth, for the growth of my classroom, and for the health of my own family. Right, I have a teenage daughter as well, so it is a holistic environment.
Thanks so much for that insight, Raphael. Yeah, Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, in terms of, I feel so lucky because I work with a teacher, Miss Janira, and she is a joy. Like, she is an absolute joy. And so I feel like I, in some ways, had it easy because just her energy is infectious, and she just lights everything up. And not only that, so I would sort of bring in, I guess, sort of like the creative element to it, what the exercise and all that sort of thing. And then Yanira, she would make it awesome for Zoom, right? The way she would, or I would like write something up and send it to her, and then she would take it and then she would put it on slides that I was like, oh yeah, that's what I wrote, but oh my goodness, look at it, it's amazing. And just her organization in a way that was just not off-putting at all. It was just wonderful. And the challenges were, once we got into, it seemed easier when we were fully remote for me. But then when it got into, when we were sort of blended, certain students were going to school on Wednesday, some Thursday. Once it started to sort of mix and match like that, then it got really tricky. And again, Yanira was so, like, my head was spinning. I was like, okay, what day are we? And but she was so organized. But like some students were fully remote, and then some were going into the classroom. And then once in the classroom, they were wearing masks, which made it difficult. And then everyone is in the same room and everyone has to have headphones on. And as soon as somebody takes their headphones off, there's this screech, but, through all of that, it was really amazing how we really did all come together. Like, everybody really did sort of stick together. And I'm so excited to get back with them. Like, I'm, excited to just see them in any format, whether it's on Zoom or in person. And because I think we did dynamite work together. So.
Yeah, you definitely did. It's truly, I think that it's true for both of you that so much of your work is really about that collaboration that you have with these partner teachers, and that you bring your strengths to meet their strengths, and like you're able to pick up and take care of each other to create like an even safer classroom and a more open classroom. So my last question to y'all is, as educators, we all know that so much of this work is about the small wins, particularly this year. So in this unprecedented time, like, what have been some of the small wins that you've witnessed in your classrooms with us that have really stayed with you, and the growth that you saw in students meeting the social emotional needs that you were talking about, Raphael? Raph, you want to take that?
I will yield the floor to my brother, Matthew.
I will. Thank you very much, the senator from upstate.
Yes, from Vermont.
A small win for me actually came in the form, there were many of them, but one of them came in the form of an email from the teacher, from Yanira afterwards. And this is a segment, I'll read it really quickly, from one of the reflections that the students wrote. We did Theater of the Oppressed. We were working with, protagonist, antagonist, these are all stories that came from the students. So I'll read this email that came from one of the students, or the reflection that came. He said, my contribution to this project, oh, by the way, all of the students are newly arrived immigrants. I think that's important to know. My contribution to this project was to be a bully. More specific, Irvin. Bullies have no context of why they do what they do, or their personalities. Taking away the part of being a bully, for what I, so to speak, familiarize myself with the character and his motives. I create my own context, which facilitated the behavior that Irvin had in his appearances. Irvin is a boy with problems at home with his father, because he sometimes hits him just for fun when he's drunk, with a not so traumatic trauma from being present to him at the death of his mother in a car accident. These are the things that made Irvin a negligent boy, rancorous, mocking, and rebellious. But still, despite that, he knows his place. So most of the time he is respectful with adults, unless they say something that is not to his liking. When that happens, he tends to get a bit aggressive, coming to disrespect. But even so, he knows how to control himself. This background information is basically part of Irvin's behavior that made it easier for me to make the character more, quote, alive, expressing the feelings of him being Irvin. So for me, like, I was blown away that this student got so deep into his character and approached it with such compassion. And then Yanira and I communicated, and now we are thinking that next year we should now start to think about that and explore that compassion that we have for the people who do us wrong, as hard as it is, as hard as it is. We always say, theater of the oppressed, we have to hold out, even if there's just a minuscule amount of hope, we have to hold on to that hope for change. And so I just, that for me, even just as an actor, to be like doing that kind of acting work, to truly love and understand your character, for me, that was amazing. So.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Matt. Like, I think that puts so many pieces.
I know, right?
Rob, did you want to say anything about a growth that you saw this year? Or
that is so beautiful, Matthew. And I really I would love to end there if it's okay, because there's nothing else to say. That hope for change is why we do what we do.
Yes, yes, right on. I will take that. Yes, thank you. Thank you both so much for everything that you do and have done, and for sharing with all of us here today a little bit of what this year has been for y'all.
Thank you. Thank you. It's an absolute pleasure.
It really is. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Love to you all. Love to you all.
Yes, big love, big love. Be well. See you soon.
Thank you. See you all soon. To the folks out there, thank you so much for joining us this evening. This has been such a very special public engagement event with its eye focused on education. We in public engagement have continued to engage audiences and host conversations provoked by our live lab performances online throughout the past year. Please stay connected with us to see what we have in store this upcoming season as we bring new student written work, and our Let's Talk public engagement events will also be back with more conversations around the works on MCC stages. Thank you once again for being here with us, sharing in conversation with our teaching artists, our students, learning about the various programs. There are much more, so if you would like any additional information about what we do at MCC in education and in public engagement, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you so much to our funders and our supporters for continuing to be with us and support our programming. And until the next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Thank you.